Hello everybody, my name is Erich von Daniken. I am the author of Chariots of the Gods, and I have the honor and the privilege to introduce to you Billy Carson. Billy Carson is the author of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets and an expert host on deep space, a new series by Gaia TV. Mr. Carson earned the Certificate of Science at MIT, and he is the CAO of First Class Space Agency in Fort Lauderdale. Not to mention, Billy Carson travels a lot. He's a brilliant speaker and everybody wants to listen to him. I know him personally and I'm a fan of Billy Carson. Billy, just the first question. Tell me, what are the Emerald Tablets?
The Emerald Tablets are these amazing tablets that were left behind by an ancient Egyptian god known as Thoth or Thoth, depending on how you want to pronounce it. He ruled over the land of Chem before it was called Egypt for 14,000 years, but this was about 40 or 50,000 years ago. And he wrote these tablets. He wrote several tablets, but this particular writing is called the Emerald Tablets with an S, plural. And they were estimated to be about 36,000 years old. He wrote them at the time he was in Egypt, and much later they were sent across the ocean to Mesoamerica, where they were rediscovered near a tunnel next to the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, Mexico. These tablets really give an incredible story of a great flood, first of all, and then talking about advanced technology such as a ship that he got into with a crew and flew into space, came down over an ancient temple in the land of Chem, rebuilt civilizations, and it talks about a lot of quantum physics, spirituality, metaphysics, and it talks a lot about consciousness, ascension of mankind, and how to become, better people, and how to love one another, and so forth. So it's a really interesting work of art, and so I decided to write a book about it and break down a lot of the verses, because a lot of people were telling me they couldn't understand exactly what was being said in there. So I wrote a book.
Now, these tablets, do they exist physically at some museum? Are they somewhere?
That's a good question. So the Emerald Tablet of Hermes is in the Cambridge Museum. It's a single tablet that was translated by Sir Isaac Newton. But then the Emerald Tablets, plural, are believed to be in the Vatican Archive in Rome.
I never heard of that before. I am very familiar with the old texts, with the old writings, thousands and thousands of years old. I know all the books from India, Mahabharata, fifth book, of course, from Tibet, and so on and on. And I know in the past they were definitely here. And in some cases, they took some young people, young guys, boys, they took them into their spaceship. They teach them in their language. They educated them, for example, in astronomy or in engineering, and then they sent them back to the humans. So they were the humans were the teacher, but what they have been learning comes from extraterrestrial. I have often been accused by scientists or critics or skeptics who say, "Come on, Erich, this is all rubbish." You say there was a description in the old text, for example, there was noise and trembling and hot air. Well, it was a volcano eruption, or it was something natural explanation, a desert storm and so on. Then I say no, because some of these young people were taught in their spaceship, and there they were taught in science. One example, Enoch is one of these figures, and once he learned the language of them, his teacher says, "Human, look outside. Do you see this little light out there? You humans call it moon, but the moon has no light by itself. The moon receives its light from the sun." And then he explains why the moon sometimes is full and half full and empty. So this is scientific information. This you cannot dream. It doesn't help to give a natural explanation, a desert storm, an earthquake, a volcanic eruption. Scientific information was given to some of our humans in the past. And I think in the present, something similar like this happened. Have you ever had a personal contact with some of them?
Well, in 2010, I had a very unique experience. It took me a long time to make it public. I didn't talk about it publicly until 2017. It was the first time I ever talked about it publicly. But I was in my house and It was early. It was up maybe only 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was just getting some updates on sports on the TV. I had been out all day working on a project. I was working on building this underground shelter that was featured on the History Channel, actually. That's what I was working on. And anyway, so in the room turned lavender, like this weird lavender color. And I was like, what is going on? I thought my sons were playing a joke on me because my son's room was on the behind over my left shoulder. So I look over my left shoulder, nobody was there. I turned back around and 2 gray aliens were in my face, 2, within just inches of my face. And I was sitting in a chair, probably around the same height I'm sitting in now. And they were standing up, but they were at my eye level. So they couldn't have been no more than 4.5 feet, 5 feet or something. I'm 6'4", I'm pretty tall, so I have a very, very tall torso, but no more than 4.5 feet they couldn't have been. And the eyes, I still can't tell if they were eyes or if they were some type of goggle or a lid or cover over. I couldn't tell. It looked fake, but it looked, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
And their discussion with you, some telepathically or by voice?
They didn't give me any words that I could understand, and I tried to scream, and even the sound couldn't be heard. Even I couldn't hear my own voice. And then within like just 20 or 30 seconds, it stopped. And then they turned around, and they didn't have a regular walk like a human. They kind of bounce. They don't have a normal walking. I don't know. It was very bizarre. Oh, really? But they literally went right through the wall. The colors came back. The TV came back on. The color went away. They thought I was crazy. It was a nightmare. It was a bad situation. But what did happen? 2 incredible things. One is a phrase that was burned into my brain: worldwide telescope, worldwide telescope. And it went on thousands and thousands of times. Finally, I went on my computer and I went to excite.com, because back then Google was there, but it wasn't the main search company. I went on excite.com to search worldwide telescope. The first result that popped up was worldwidetelescope.org. Still open today. It's still a website today. It's where all the space probe data from all the space missions located on that one website. You go in there, and I just did a Zoom with my followers, and I did a Zoom and brought them into the same thing that I discovered at that time live, and showed them. It took me to panoramas of planets. Mars was one of them. We had the rovers on Mars. I clicked on that. I clicked on Opportunity Rover. When I went into Opportunity Rover, I was able to zoom in, zoom out, pan left and right. And I started seeing anomalies, things that didn't belong on Mars. And I was like, what is this? And the more panoramas that I went into, the more anomalies I discovered. So it took me down a whole rabbit hole of discovering anomalies on Mars, eventually even the moon, and also on a moon of Saturn named Titan. And I started documenting these anomalies, and I found another group of small people that were helping me do this, and we got about 58 to 60,000 anomalies now that we found through this thing that I guess they downloaded to me or whatever. I'm not really sure. And the second thing was I started studying science a lot, quantum physics in particular, and I really understood it all. And I really started teaching quantum physics.
You know, it's very fascinating what you tell me. I think you have talked to some people, to some astronomers about these anomalies on Mars. What do they say? What is their answer?
Oh yeah, they try to say, the mainstream ones that I talked to, because I would send them photos without telling them what it is, and they would say, "Well, this is interesting. Where'd you find this?" And I would say, "Oh, this is on Mars." And they would reply back very briefly, "Oh, this is pareidolia. You're just seeing things," and they would never answer me back again. Yeah. Seth Sawchak from
I know him,
the
yeah.
company that Look for Life in Space.
Yes.
He told me the same thing. He said, "Oh no, this is all fake stuff. You don't know what you're looking at. You're just looking at shadows." He just kind of just shrugged it off. He didn't want to hear anything. I contacted NASA. I sent NASA some of the anomalies. NASA replied back with an email telling me, "Well, we don't know what's up there. If you think that you found something, you can feel free to publish whatever you want." So that's what I started doing.
So, but anyhow, Billy, when I hear you, in a way, you are influenced in something. You know, my own experience, I have published many, many books. And from time to time, I have to read some of my old books because of they were translated into another language. And then I ask myself, where did I get this idea from? I ask myself in my own books. So The facts are there. They are true. I can prove it, etc. I know the literature, I know the sources, but sometimes I have to ask myself, where do you get this idea from? And not like you, I never had a personal experience. I never saw a UFO. So you are definitely sure that these things exist. Of course, I hear you talking, and you are very, very an intelligent and honest personality. And of course, like myself, you are criticized, I expect. What do you answer to these people who believe nothing in all this? He said, that's all rubbish what we say. What do you answer them?
I just tell them that in time, all truths will be exposed. All secrets will be revealed in time. And so what's starting to happen now is some of the stuff I was talking about back in 2012 and 2013 now is making the mainstream news. Marines, Navy, the Pentagon, they're all saying, oh, the UFOs are real. The Pentagon just made a statement 6 months ago that we're in possession of vehicles not of this world. So some of those heavy naysayers, and these are some big people that were coming after me and making all these negative statements and comments, they're now coming back and saying, you might be right. You may be onto something, because now, now they believe it because the mainstream news is coming out. So I still have some doubters, but some people are starting to go, wait a minute, he was saying this years ago. And so some people I see that were making all these negative statements are all like, oh man, Billy told us about this a long time ago, but back then they were saying it was fake. Now all of a sudden they're on board with me. So it's been so weird, man. It's been strange.
That's exactly what I learned in my experience. In German language, we have a word, der Zeitgeist. It's the spirit of time. The spirit of time has changed. And the spirit of time is something terrible. When you are in a certain spirit of time, they do not want to accept anything. And even if you are a very well-known politician or a high personality, the people do not believe you. Just an example. Imagine His Holiness the Pope would stand on his balcony and would tell to his people down there, well, yesterday I had a discussion with 2 extraterrestrials. Now his own people, the cardinals and the priests, would say, what's wrong with the Pope? What's going on? So if the spirit of time is not ready, you cannot go through it. And now in your case, in my case, I am absolutely sure the spirit of time has changed. The situation slowly, they learn, all these skeptics, they learn that we were not on the wrong track. We were on the right track. And it's very good to have a person like you here. By the way, one question I ask everyone, it's rather a philosophical question. What do you think, what is the purpose of our life? Why are we on this planet?
I really believe that we are here for a data collection mission. And again, I came up with this theory because I'm realizing that as above, so below applies to everything. And so when I start looking at how the main push right now in civilization on Earth is to collect data on everything and everyone. And so I said, wow, we're collecting so much data. The government wants data. Sales companies want, corporations want all the data. It's all about data, data, data. I said, what's driving this consciousness to want all this data? So I said, let me analyze one level above the regular third dimensional plane, and let's go into consciousness. Our brain needs data. So I realized that our brain is encased in complete darkness. It doesn't know nothing. It can't see anything. It can't feel, hear, touch. It can't navigate. But what the brain has is friends, smell, sight, hearing, touch, and so forth, our senses. So the brain says to its friends, I want you to go out there and collect some information for me so I can figure out what's going on. And so the friends go out. Now the friends themselves cannot break down or analyze or figure out what the data is. They can only collect the information. So your hands go out, your nose, your hearing, your sight, everything goes out and collects this data, brings it back to the brain. And then the brain takes all this data and it sorts it all out. And then it projects a hologram as to what's going on out there. And then we navigate through this matrix based on a holographic projection from our own mind. So I realized if you take it one more level up, all of a sudden, the universal consciousness has divided itself into Googles of entities in the universe, and we're some of them, me and you. And it said, okay, I'm going to send out my frequency and inhabit all these different avatars around the universe. and have them go out and live their life. And now we're collecting data as we live, and we're transmitting it back to the universal consciousness, because it is also a mind that wants to collect information to figure out what's going on in the third dimension. That's what I think is happening.
I am absolutely on your side. I have a similar way of thinking. What is the purpose of life? Why are we here? And you know, in the old texts, not only in the Bible, we learn that the so-called gods created humans according their own image. If we see it from this point of view, we would be some kind of offsprings of them. And the purpose of life is multiply intelligence, bring it out into the universe. You know, are you still a believer in God?
Yes, I do. I believe that there is a God, but that this God entity, I don't believe that it has any gender at all, no gender. I believe it's on the outside of the universe, because I really believe that the gods of the religious books are really these advanced beings that masqueraded as gods, and that the real true creator or creators are on the outside of this realm. Just like if I had an ant farm, I'm the god of the ants, and I can look at the ants and I can change their environment. I can shake them up and make them rebuild. I can take ants out, put ants back in, but I'm not in there with the ants. So I believe that the true creator is on the outside. And I think that the mathematics and the physics, the quantum mechanics of the universe explain the software program or this coding or this light matrix that we're operating in. I believe somebody created this light matrix that we're inhabiting right now, and that it is created by a creator. The mathematics proves that it's too specific. Something created this.
I am fully on your side. Billy Carson, I hope you continue to write brilliant books. I hope we can read sooner or later one of your bestsellers in the German language. It was a pleasure to talk to you. It was a pleasure to know you in person. Enjoy your life. Please go on with your work. We all need you.
Thank you.